everyone's pissed off, man, at Colorado about this whole jersey retirement thing. And I know you got a strong take on it. And Darian, I mean, shit, Darian wasn't coaching right now. He came on the show already and been his true colors would have came out too. But I got two-folded question for you. How great was Dion Figures, number one? And I just don't think I think he's underappreciated throughout this whole process. And then how much of a slap in the face was it to him particularly that this retirement happened so quickly, and we just kind of dismiss the fact that Dion Figures wore that number and was unbelievable talent during your guys' era?
Wow. Okay. So Dion Figures. We played the year we won a national championship. We played Washington at the University of Colorado. Dion Figures got the game-sealing interception in that game. The next year, Washington won a national championship. So that was a very good Washington team. We don't win that game without Dion Figures. Besides that interception, Dion Figures went on to win the Thorpe Award, the award for the best defensive back in the country. In the national championship game against Notre Dame, who also has the game-sealing interception, Dion Figures. So it's starting to stack up. It's not just the awards and the personal accolades. It's the game-changing plays in some of the biggest games of the year on a team that won a national championship. So if it's just personal accolades, I could see possibly maybe somehow you could go, okay, well, he was good, but he didn't change the trajectory of those teams or teams of the era. Dion Figures clearly did that. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's in the CU Hall of Fame. So we got personal accolades. We got team success. I'm not sure if there's a buff from that era, which was the greatest era of Colorado Buffalo football, who would demonstrate what is needed to have your number retired. So, of course, as you point out, JB, he and Shedeur were the same number 2. So for Shedeur to leapfrog Deion Sanders in this process is a bit ridiculous. Dion Figures, thank you. It's a bit ridiculous for him to leapfrog Dion in this process. I'm not saying Shedeur does not deserve the honor. That's a conversation that's a bit separate for me. It's if you're going to start retiring numbers, who needs to have their number retired? Now, Coach Prime has said, I'm not responsible for what coaches of the past ignored. But do you not have a responsibility as a current football coach to embrace the past? Of all the major sports, college football is the one that embraces the past the most. You can't watch a damn Notre Dame game without seeing a black and white picture of the Four Horsemen. You know what I'm saying? You can't watch a USC game without them running through the litany of all their Heisman Trophy winners. You're going to see a Marcus Allen highlight. You're going to see a Charles White highlight if you watch a USC football game. College football embraces the past. Nick Saban's been amazing at Alabama. But if an Alabama game is being played, Bear Bryant gets mentioned. You see a picture of him with the hat and the whole thing. So for Dion to say, well, I'm not responsible for that. Well, as a college football coach, you kind of are. Your tradition that you're trying to build at the university stands upon the shoulders of previous other eras and previous other traditions. So it bothers me that for him to say, well, I'm not responsible for that. Well, yeah, you kind of are. This is kind of how college football works. I'm not saying his son didn't deserve that. Again, we can have that conversation. That's a fair conversation to have. Travis certainly deserves to have his number retired. But when you ask JB about the timely part of it, there's typically a bit of a waiting period. These kids were still on campus. Travis was still taking classes on campus. Now, he's a great player, a unicorn. I don't think it's any argument his number deserves to be retired, but I certainly think it's worth the argument to talk about timing. When it should be retired. Yes.
Let me ask you, how much heat have you taken? Because I call them the prime sexuals, and I talked to Dion. I've known Dion for a long time during the recruiting process of other schools and other things, and we have a little relationship. He's got a good friend of mine on staff. Obviously, Darian was there his first year, then he's gone now to San Diego State. But how much heat have you taken to go against the so-called, I call them the prime sexuals? When you go against anything Dion does, like you take a huge, I get killed every day, right? And I'm like, dog, I'm just keeping it real. I have no ill will versus Dion or anybody else, but I think it's more of like a university of prime than it is the University of Colorado. That's when he first took the job. That's the take I gave, and then everyone, oh yeah. But the following is like guys from Florida, and ain't nobody from Boulder, Colorado. Nobody from Colorado. It's all Dion's fans, and I think I'm curious to know if you've taken heat because you stood on something and just said, "Hey, I just disagree with it." It's not like you're hating. I just disagree with it as an alum. Have you taken heat or backlash?
Oh, of course. And so, yes, there are a certain segment of current Colorado Buffalo football fans who think that the Buffaloes did not play football for the past 100 years.
Right.
That they just invented football 3 years ago in Boulder, and any success that program has ever had, this is the greatest success that they've ever had. So I was told that I'm a Colorado Buffalo hater. I was told that I've done nothing for the program. Let me see. I've been a sideline reporter. I've been a play-by-play analyst in the booth. I fund a scholarship on campus. I'm in the Colorado Buffalo Football Hall of Fame. I mean, the list is long. So it's just like, wow. The fact that you would even form your lips to say some shit like that, it's just like, wow, you guys are clearly, I haven't come up with a catchy name as you have, but it's pretty funny that when people doubt my Colorado buffness, you know what I'm saying? It's like, because I may have a question or criticism about something on how something is done on campus does not take away from my Colorado buffness. Two things can be true at the same time. I can be a Colorado Buffalo lifer and I can have some questions about what the hell he's doing up there. I think that's completely fair. Now, all this wasn't on Coach Prime. Rick George, the athletic director, was involved. There's other people involved in all this. So my pushback is not just aimed at Dion. I'm not a quote unquote Dion hater. I just have some questions about this process. And again, for people of my time, the greatest era of Colorado Buffalo football ever to be leapfrogged over doesn't feel quite right.
Smitty, before you ask something, let me ask one more thing. I got to ask you, like the Rashawn Salam thing came out, very controversial, right? They don't put him in. They don't really honor him until his passing, which is unbelievable. But Rick George, you mentioned, I've talked to Darian particularly about this. Like Darian was like, dog, he's close to Rick. And he was like, listen, man, you told me personally that there was a cool down period or a waiting period for us to be inducted or have our jerseys retired. I won the Natty as the quarterback. Then we got Cordell Stewart, we know what he did there, winning his QB all time, I believe. And you have all these other guys, and you have Salam and then yourself and other guys. And it's like, where's the happen to the cool down period is all I'm just asking the question. That's all Darian was saying to me. And I guess it goes to your point. Like it's all about the timing of this thing. It's like, well, now there's no cooldown period. That does affect Deion Sanders saying that, like you said, you do owe something to the university that you're now coaching and that legacy that was before us. And I don't think we can go where we are without what we were. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, but I just was curious.
Yeah. So Rick George is a personal friend. Known Rick George since 1988 when he was recruiting coordinator for the Colorado Buffaloes. He would walk on the sideline with one of those old school big giant cell phones, calling recruits during games until the NCAA banned that, which I thought was freaking genius because we were always kicking somebody's ass on the field. So he would call recruits during the game, which was awesome. But having said all that, Rick being a personal friend of mine and everything, Rick's done a tremendous job with reinvigorating the Athletic Hall of Fame on campus. It used to be kind of a sporadic event. He put some regularity to it. A number of players over the last 5 or 6 years have gone in who are well-deserving to be in the CU Athletic Hall of Fame. So there is a part of Rick that has pulled back to the old times and brought some of those guys and given them the accolades and honors that they deserve. But I think sometimes the immediacy of the moment. We've got Coach Prime on campus. We got Shedeur. We got Travis. We're selling out season tickets. I think the immediacy of the moment, the desire to capitalize on some of this moment, forced some decisions to be made that were different than the criteria that Darian spoke to you about. And I think that's unfortunate because if we're going to start bending criteria, then we're at the whims of the moment. And again, college football is based upon legacy. It's based on winning. We love personal accolades. We love to honor people who have success on the field. But what do we love even more? Somebody who produces a national championship, somebody who produces a conference championship, because that's what's remembered. That's what gets hung up on the rafters is your championships and your wins. So we've moved away from that, and we've given personal accolades more glory than we've given wins. So, again, Travis and Shedeur, I'm not saying they're bad football players. I'm not saying Coach Prime is a bad coach. I'm not saying Rick George is a bad athletic director. But all this thing has a bit of a fishy smell to it.
Got you. No, I love that, man. And like I said, if anybody can say that, it's you. So I guess staying, I guess different topic, but staying on the Colorado kind of side there. What do they need to do to get back to that dominance, right? To get back to the good old days, we call it, when you guys were competing for natties and winning natties. Like, what do you think the plans? And we know today the era is so different now with NIL, and it's basically pay for play, so it's a completely different era. But just from your lens, what needs to happen with Colorado moving forward to get back to that top tier level?
Clearly, Coach Prime has the ability to recruit talented skill position players, guys who play outside the numbers. Yep. Because of his strength and abilities there. One of the greatest to ever do that. But football is not won or lost outside the numbers. It's won or lost in the trenches. And so the ability for him to take that same prowess and begin to recruit All-American offensive linemen, which he did with Jordan Seaton, one of the best young tackles in all of college football, but also defensive linemen. Well, again, if we're going to go back to my era of football, we had offensive linemen who were drafted. We had defensive linemen who went in the first round. We had depth at those positions. So if Colorado football is going to turn from what we've seen over the last couple of years, the Shedeur and Travis show, into a dominant football program where the success is sustained not based on one or two players, but based on the team and the program itself, then you've got to win those recruiting battles on the lines up front. The best teams that I was on at Colorado were not necessarily the most talented teams, because when we think of talent, so often we think of skill, position, flash, and all of that. They were the teams that were built the toughest and the solidness of those teams, because we won up front on offensive defensive line. You don't run the ball with J.J. Flanagan, Eric Bieniemy, and Darian Hagan without having a great offensive line. Those guys were incredible players. But let's not forget, when Eric Bieniemy was suspended for a game, we had to put Mike Pritchard, who will also end up being a first-round pick, our wide receiver, into the tailback room against Tennessee. He ran for over 200. Was Mike Pritchard talented? Of course he was. But it was an offensive line that deserves credit for that. And then if you're going to compete in the old school Big Eight, which we were, and you're going to play Oklahoma and Nebraska every year, you better be pretty damn good up front defensively. And so we don't win those games against those high-powered running offenses without a great defensive line as well, and lots of depth at those positions. So that would be the next step. I certainly believe the ability to get flashy talent, to get wide receiver talent, DB talent is there. Now let's see you take that and bring in some other positions so we can turn this from a talented program to a consistently winning program.
No doubt.